Hello everybody, here we are today and we're going to be talking about the Edmonton Oilers yet again and how they look like they're pretty well set to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. So before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So the Oilers are a team that we've talked about a lot on this channel. I almost feel like they've probably been the team we've talked about the most. And if you are a hater of the Oilers, you're probably saying, how could we be talking about them again? Helps when they have a team that has a great chance of making the playoffs year in and year out, and also the fact that they have one of the best players of our generation and could very well be up there in an all-time great, which I already think he is. So with that being said, we kicked off the season for the Oilers with high hopes in terms of what we expected out of them. We expected this team that have been able to win in the playoffs over the past few years in advance rounds to be able to do so again by making the playoffs for the fourth straight season. And that was all hunky-dory until they hit a brick wall early in the year. Through their first 17 games, they ended up going 5-12-1. Actually, that'd be their first 18 games. Sorry about the bad math. But yeah, they were in a spot where their playoff fate looked like it was sealed, and they weren't going to the playoffs early in the season. And they fired their head coach, Jay Woodcroft, which was really unfortunate because of the success that they had underneath him. But that is the business, and if you're in a Canadian market with a superstar, as well as probably another superstar if you want to count Draisaitl, you would expect some crazy decisions to be made, and whether or not you want to call it crazy, they did make a big decision to fire Jay, which had big implications, including to this point. Because since that time, their head coach, Chris Nolbach, I think is how you say his last name, has had this team doing pretty darn well, as over their past 17 games, they are 14-3. They have a winning streak of 8 games and a win streak of 6 games. So out of this little run, yes, they did have a 3-game skid, but to come away with all of these points in this big of a span is huge, and they are now on pace for a 98-1-point season. But I do want to emphasize that with them being better and a lot of these things looking better for them, I would say that I expect more than a 91-point campaign. Now, the weird thing is, MoneyPuck.com has them at great odds of making the playoffs at the moment at 86.7%, which is a little weird considering they're not currently in a playoff spot. However, they are just outside of a playoff spot behind the Arizona Coyotes. And the great news for Edmonton is they have 3 games left against the Desert Dogs. And if they're able to keep a big hot stretch going like the one that they've had recently, then they're in a great spot to possibly get those points away from Arizona and be able to move past them in the standings. Although at that point, maybe they are past them, maybe Arizona's further in, maybe they're in the one wild card spot. Maybe it's just some other team. Doesn't matter. Point remains, you have a team that is hot, that not a lot of teams want to play right now, and it feels like something familiar for the Oilers. They ended last year on a really big hot run, and in recent memory, feels like the Oilers usually do catch fire at some point in a season. This time it's coming at a really opportune time, and it's got a lot of people wondering, is it pretty much a walk for them to make the playoffs? In my opinion, yes. And I'm just going to put up a couple of stats here on the screen so it covers me up and I can read these stats nice and pretty without having to do a bunch of cuts. How good have the Oilers been during this run since the first game, which was back on November 24th? Where do they rank in categories around the NHL? Well, we're going to put it up on the screen now. Since November 24th, the Oilers rank first in the league for goals for per 60, 5th in goals against per 60, first in goals for percentage, 5th best in save percentage, and high danger save percentage at all strengths. Now, their power play has been pretty productive too in this time, as they are averaging the 26th most minutes on the man advantage in this stretch. However, they are third in goals for per 60. And the PK has been pretty good to them as well too, as they have the 5th best penalty kill percentage in this time. Stuart Skinner in this run is 11-2 and has a .923 save percentage with a 2.07 goals against average during this run. What exactly does all this mean? It means things are going pretty well for them. They've had really good 5-on-5 numbers too that I didn't even mention. Where does this leave them? Well, it leaves them as a team you don't really want to have to play. They are scoring a lot of goals. They are not allowing a lot of goals. They are having their goalie play well. A young goalie, mind you, that is somebody they're hoping can be the future starter for them. Looks like he very well could be with backing it up with a run like this. And they are thriving at special teams. You're looking at this and seeing them have a great power play percentage during this run and having a great PK percentage to be able to score a lot on the man advantage alone is going to be a good thing for you. To be able to not allow a lot of goals on the PK is a good thing for you. To be able to play well at 5-on-5 is a good thing for you. To be able to play at all strengths well is obviously going to be a good thing for you. When you're scoring goals everywhere and you're not allowing goals at a high rate and being up there at the top of the league means you're probably going to be in a good spot. And with the Oilers, being in a situation where they're now just behind the playoffs for the wild card spot, they are up there and coming. And I think the biggest thing here is the fact that over the 17-game stretch, the Oilers have 5 players averaging over a point per game, with Connor McDavid duking it out with Nathan MacKinnon recently. He actually has 37 points, McDavid, that is, over the 17-game spell, and recently had a 5-point night against, it was the Philadelphia Flyers. Remember that off the top of my head, as he cracked the 900-point mark for his career. McDavid and the boys are buzzing right now, and the last thing you want to do is face a very hot Edmonton team that has got the star power that they have with McDavid, and to see somebody maybe like Draisaitl that's having a quieter year in terms of points per game be able to get hot. And it's not just him, there are other people involved in this. You're seeing Bouchard as well have another good run with this, which is also cool to see in terms of points, and just has one of those feelings where if Edmonton gets in there, again, are they that dark horse where a lot of people have said, including myself, if they are able to get deep enough into the playoffs and momentum is carrying them and maybe they make a trade along the way, this could be a very dangerous team. And the last thing you want this team to be is dangerous. You'd rather kick them while they were down and they were that 5-12-1 team where things were going right, and they are not that team anymore at the moment, at least. So we are going to see what happens here with the Oilers. I am kind of glad that I stuck with what I said originally, in my opinion, that the Oilers were going to make the playoffs regardless of the fact that they had started out the year slow. I figured they would get to where they started to win games. I didn't figure they'd get this hot where they went 14-3. Is there a chance where they go on to get a big slump? Absolutely, but at the same time, McDavid's back. That's good. McDavid's playing well. That's good. Stuart Skinner's playing well. Other guys along this lineup are playing well too, clearly with the team being good as a whole. And unfortunately for Woodcroft, it does look like at the moment this was the right decision to make in terms of coaching. Maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe it's not just Chris. Maybe it's some of the other guys. And we'll have to see. But the underlying numbers are looking incredibly good for this Oilers team that has made the playoffs recently, looks to do so again, and also looks to win rounds like they have in recent years. And maybe, just maybe, the Oilers can go on to their first Stanley Cup final since 2006. And maybe, just maybe, the Oilers will see McDavid, their captain, go out there and win a cup, which I think a lot of people would be willing to sacrifice Edmonton winning a cup as long as McDavid got one. But anyway, what are your thoughts on all this? Do you think that the Oilers are the real deal now and they're going to make the playoffs? Do you think that they're going to go in there and maybe cause some upsets? Do you think that their slow start will just shadow the fact that maybe they are a better team than what their point total will say? Let me know all that down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And Eagle of Hawk, Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.